From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Friday, October 31st, and here are today's headlines. Orange County Senator Larry Hart announced this week that he is stepping down as of November 14th. In his letter of resignation, Hart shared that it became too difficult to accomplish major goals during his first Senate term, and that the time and commitment became too great a strain on his health and well-being. Hart wrote that he lost a daughter and granddaughter to addiction prior to his time in the Senate, and that he hopes to serve in other roles to help with addiction issues in Vermont. VT Digger reports that following Hart's announcement, Monique Priestley, a Democratic representative from Bradford, has announced that she intends to run for Hart's Senate seat next year. Rutland Regional Medical Center announced this week that it plans to move away from operating inpatient pediatric beds. In a press release, RRMC cited a declining rate of children requiring overnight stays, as well as the impacts of mounting costs and healthcare funding decreases on operating sustainability. The hospital says the emergency department will continue to serve as a center for pediatric care, prioritizing some rooms for younger patients. The plan also involves transferring young patients who require specialized or long-term treatment to local area hospitals, like the University of Vermont Medical Center and Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center. Let's take a moment to talk about math, a subject that does not come easily to everyone, yours truly included. That's one reason former Essex Junction math teacher Mike Kenny founded an app called Math Fact Lab. It's an ed tech tool that uses various strategies and visual models to teach basic math fluency. Kenny says the app stresses understanding math concepts rather than just memorizing answers. Once his fifth graders received laptops, he says Math Fact Lab went from a huge stack of cumbersome flashcards to a series of images in Google slideshows.
That's when the efforts really started to show promise. I was seeing real success. My students could not only, tell me what 6 times 8 was, but they could tell me multiple reasons why it was 48. It's like, ding, ding, this is exactly what I was hoping for.
Kenny worked with developers to create the current version of the app, which he now runs full-time. The app is used in all 50 states and in dozens of countries around the world. Next week, Mad River Valley Arts in Waitsfield will open a new multimedia exhibition. It's an oral history project about elder artists who live in the area. Christopher Viersema is the executive director of Mad River Valley TV. He collaborated on the project with local journalist Tracy Brandstrom. He shared some of what he learned from the local artists on Vermont Edition this week.
There's something special in the sense that there's a strong connection to the back to the land movement, to the design build movement in the valley. I think it's very similar to a lot of these kind of micro regions around Vermont, that it's attracted and supported a strong community of artists.
Along the River's Way opens November 6th and it runs through December 13th. And a reminder, it's that time of year again when we fall back for daylight saving time. The National Institute of Standards and Technology reminds listeners to set clocks back 1 hour this coming Sunday, November 2nd. And the American Red Cross reminds you to test your smoke alarms at the same time. Coming up, after losing an 18-inning marathon that clocked in as the second longest World Series game in history, the Toronto Blue Jays stormed back to take the next 2 games in LA, and they're now just 1 win away from their first title in 32 years. We've got details on how Canada's only Major League Baseball team has been able to turn the tide in our weekly sports report after this. And now it's time for our weekly check-in on news from the world of sports. And the Toronto Blue Jays are just 1 game away from winning the franchise's first World Series title in 32 years, thanks to their ability to bounce back from a draining and devastating loss in the second longest Major League Baseball playoff game in history. It feels like eons ago, but it was just this past Monday that the LA Dodgers took a 2-1 lead over the Blue Jays with a 6-5 win in a game that kept anyone watching on the East Coast awake until nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. It was 6 hours plus of nail-biting, scintillating baseball, replete with game-saving defensive plays, momentum-changing home runs, and outstanding bullpen relief from players like Will Klein, who pitched 4 innings of scoreless relief in extra innings for the Dodgers and wasn't even going to be on the World Series roster. He was added as a last-minute replacement because another pitcher had a family commitment that kept him from being able to play. Freddie Freeman won that Game 3 for LA in the bottom of the 18th inning with a solo shot to center, and yet those heroics were actually overshadowed by Dodgers megastar Shohei Ohtani, who belted 2 home runs in Game 3 and was on base a playoff record tying 9 times, because after the 9th inning, he was intentionally walked in his next 4 plate appearances. You know you've arrived when teams offer you first base for free, assuming you'll double, triple, or homer if they otherwise pitch to you. But despite the heartbreak of losing that Game 3 marathon, the Blue Jays dusted themselves off to take Games 4 and 5. And what we learned from Game 4 is that the aforementioned Ohtani is actually human after all. Yes, he's the only active player who can excel both at the plate and as a pitcher, but taking the mound to start Tuesday night, Ohtani failed to replicate the 6-inning, 10-strikeout masterpiece he delivered in the NLCS against Milwaukee. Instead, he was pulled after the third inning when Toronto slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. jumped all over a hanging curveball and sent it deep into the stands for a 2-run homer that wiped out a 1-0 Dodger advantage and paved the way for an eventual 6-2 Blue Jays victory, knotting the series at 2 games apiece. And for all the deserved attention Ohtani gets, Guerrero is lining himself up to be the potential World Series MVP if the Blue Jays go on to win. He's already established a playoff record as the only player in history with more than 25 hits and 15-plus RBIs in a single postseason. And he's now Toronto's all-time leader in playoff home runs, surpassing both Joe Carter and Jose Bautista on the franchise list with the 7 that he's launched so far. And he's not the only Blue Jay rewriting the record books. Toronto's 6-1 victory in Game 5 saw pitcher Trey Savage set the rookie mark for strikeouts in a World Series game when he found 12 to leapfrog Don Newcomb's previous freshman record of 11 Ks that had stood since 1949. The Rogers Center will be roaring for Game 6 tonight in anticipation of becoming world champs again, but given how many twists and turns this series has already taken, it's still a trick-or-treat scenario for the Toronto faithful on Halloween night. Here's hoping this amazing series goes the full 7, no matter who ultimately takes the title. In the NHL, the Boston Bruins snapped a 6-game losing skid, hanging on for a 3-2 win at home against one of the league's best in the Colorado Avalanche, but then followed that up with a hideous 7-2 defeat against the conference rival Ottawa Senators. They returned to Boston for a tilt against the New York Islanders, spotting the Isles 2 goals in the game's first 5 minutes. It didn't look good, but the Bruins woke up in the second period. They scored 3 on strikes by Elias Lindholm, David Pastrnak, and Mikey Eyssimont, and they tacked on 2 more in the third for a 5-2 win before they hosted the Buffalo Sabres last night. And much as it pains me as a Bruins fan to say so, the Montreal Canadiens are young, dynamic, and the class of the Eastern Conference right now, sitting alone in first place as they prepare to face off against the Ottawa Senators at the Bell Center tomorrow night. In hoops action, the Boston Celtics finally got their first win of the year after opening with 3 straight losses with a 122-90 win over the New Orleans Pelicans Monday night, then faced a much tougher opponent Wednesday in the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they won that one too, 125-100 behind 30 points from Jaylen Brown. In the NFL, the New England Patriots are now 6-2 after an impressive win last week against the Cleveland Browns, who boast one of the league's toughest defenses. Drake May has become a beacon of efficiency and poise, and with the Pats hosting the 3-4 Atlanta Falcons in Foxborough this Sunday, New England could tighten their hold on first place in the AFC East. In college soccer, the UVM men's team has moved into number 3 on the U.S. College Coaches Division I rankings after beating the previously undefeated Bryant Bulldogs last weekend. The Catamounts have yet to lose this season as they prepare to face Albany for their senior night game at Virtue Field tonight. And the St. Michael's Purple Knights women just continue to roll. They're now 13-2-1, and with a tough test coming up Saturday as they host Franklin Pierce, the Ravens have just 1 loss on the season to go with 11 wins and 4 ties. Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Nathaniel Wilson, Jen Jarecki, and Michaela Lafrac. Our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. Happy Halloween to all those who celebrate, and a very special happy birthday to E. That's E, not me, and the E is for Erin. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you Monday.
Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.